Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Vialet Rayne.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Vialet B Rayne, and my guest today is Natasha Braniff. She's a mindset coach, a past life regressionist. Her passion is to help as many humans as possible to understand the power they hold within themselves and to reclaim that power and remembrance of who they truly are. She does this by guiding them to make their subconscious patterns and behaviors conscious through hypnosis, inner child healing, subconscious mindset work, and spiritual coaching. She also has a podcast that she started, and so we'll dig in and see just how she got on this journey. So, Natasha, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you too. Talk to us a little bit on how your life led you to do what you do today, because I feel like for many of us, we're led down this path to do this work, and it is our experience and journey that really guides us to help others. So share with us your experience and journey.
Yeah, so it's quite a magical kind of series of turn of events, but also with a little bit of trauma in, because isn't that how these things work? But long story short, in 2020, I lost my mum to lung cancer, and it kind of turned my whole world upside down. Before I was well, what I thought I was an atheist, very much left-brained, kind of science facts, not of the world that I'm in at all. And then I lost my mum, and I just remember thinking, I cannot go on living if I believe, as I currently do, that she's just disappeared, that she's just gone. So it kind of has set me about on a journey of trying to prove that she did still exist and she was still around in some kind of way. And it took me down a whole rabbit hole of near-death experiences. I got into the kind of my spiritual journey, had a spiritual awakening, and I completely flipped who I was as a person. But in doing so, I realized that this is kind of who I was all along, and I'd just been trying desperately not to see it because actually I was scared of the unseen world because I had lots of experiences as a child which scared me. I realize now. Um, but yeah, so getting into the hypnotherapy kind of route, whilst I was kind of in my journey, a series of coincidences, synchronicities occurred that led me to hypnotherapy. And I actually went to med school to be a doctor. I left med school in my third year, but I realized that actually what I wanted to do when I went to med school was I just wanted to help people. I wanted to care for people. And I realized that, and I thought, well, I want to do it in a way that works with the mind, because I was fascinated by the mind and what I'd learned on my spiritual journey. It kind of all came together. I went into my hypnotherapy diploma, and it felt like I was just remembering something. It wasn't like I was learning it. I felt like I was remembering it. I already knew it, and I knew that that was what I was going to do, from now on. And then, yeah, it kind of just spiraled from there, really.
I love that story of going to medical school, which is very science, very logical, so my husband is very science. He doesn't believe in any of this, right? And then I'm way on the other side of the spectrum, right? I believe in all of it. So I love that. So hypnosis or hypnotherapy, as we talk about it, explain to the viewers that may not have ever experienced that. How does that tool help us? Where does it connect, and how do you work with that type of modality?
Yeah, so hypnosis is the state that you go into. Hypnotherapy is obviously using hypnosis as a form of therapy. I think everybody thinks when they think of hypnosis is the stage kind of hypnosis where people start clucking like chickens and stuff, and that's fun, but that's obviously not what I do in the therapy room. But effectively, what we're doing is we're taking people into hypnosis, or we're using hypnosis as a tool to get access to people's subconscious mind. We're putting them into an altered state of consciousness where they're focusing within rather than without. It's a very, very normal and natural state for us humans to be in. We go into it every night before we go to sleep. We're in it every morning as we're waking up. We're doing it all throughout the day, when we're driving, when we're brushing our teeth, when we're doing mindless chores, when we're watching TV. It's very, very common, but people think it's got this like mystical, kind of context around it, which isn't entirely true. So yeah, just we are using this state of hypnosis to get access to the subconscious mind, which is like the operating system of us, of who we are. And when we get into the subconscious mind, it's where all your habits, all your beliefs, all your memories are kind of held. And I also believe it's attached to the field that we're in as well, so we can have access to the intelligence that's out there as well. But yeah, by getting into the subconscious mind, we can access your, what beliefs you have, and then most importantly, we can reprogram them with beliefs that are more empowering or that are going to serve you in life. Because unfortunately, when we grow up, we are programmed with these beliefs that aren't necessarily of our choosing, and they're not necessarily positive. So we don't have much of a choice, but we do now as adults. And that's why I love hypnosis and hypnotherapy, because we get to choose now.
I love that. I love that. What most people don't realize is we're probably in our subconscious more than we're in our conscious most of the time, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it is the driving force. It really is. It's that 3-year-old child that's making decisions for you as an adult, and you don't even realize that it is what is kind of the actions you take and the triggers and how you react to things sometimes comes from that subconscious world of either that younger child or that wounded part of you that's lashing out. And when we're conscious of that, we can heal that. So, you talk about inner child healing. I love talking about inner child healing. And most people don't understand what that means. What do you mean by inner child healing? So share with us a little bit your perspective on that.
Yeah, so that forms a big part of what I do. So I use it in the context of regression. So for anyone that doesn't know, regression is just a technique that I use whilst people are in hypnosis to take them back to a time in their past, mostly in this current lifetime, but obviously I do past life regression as well. So regression is just going back in time effectively. And this is the great, reason why we use the subconscious mind, because I don't have to know consciously what it is. You, as a client, don't know what it is, but your subconscious mind holds the answers. So by doing that, we take them back. Your subconscious takes you back to the event or the memory or the time where something happened to you, mostly as a child, because most of the work that I go back to is, when you're a child. And then we can go back and we kind of get plopped back into that memory, and we can experience it as we did when we were, let's say, that 3-year-old child, which often we don't give ourselves time to do in our waking moments. The memory might pop in when you're washing up or when you're doing something. You might have that memory and just think, and carry on. But obviously, when you're in the chair and we're doing the hypnotherapy, you're having to actually experience it, maybe kind of relive it again. But most importantly, we're feeling the feelings that we felt as a child, which we've kind of stuffed down. So with my inner child healing, we're giving that child basically space and time to show the adult you what she experienced, how she felt, and what she made it mean about herself, most importantly. So what we then do is we get those emotions up to the surface, which is uncomfortable, but it's necessary to allow them to move through you. And then once we clear those emotions out, we can then have a better perspective of what actually happened in that event and what the real truth of the event was. And this is where people can get like incredible aha moments, because they realize what they actually thought about that event and what actually they made it mean was not the truth at all, but they've carried it through their adult life. So in having that understanding, we bring that into their conscious mind, and then they can rationalize with it, and they can say, oh, well, of course, my mum and dad arguing didn't mean, for example, that I wasn't good enough or I wasn't worthy of love. Of course, that was their issues. It was nothing to do with me. But actually, that's what we do as children. We're very literal, and we make these things mean something about us. And then obviously we get to be the parents that we needed but didn't necessarily have, or we meet our needs that weren't met at the time. We do it for ourselves, which is really empowering, very emotional. And I facilitate that in the ways that I do. And then we rewrite the memory. So we recreate a memory where you as a child in that event, actually something very different happened. We equip your inner child with all the things that it didn't have, and we recreate the memory, and then that gets solidified in your subconscious mind. So what was once triggering for you is now, when it gets triggered, is actually full of empowering beliefs, say, of like you're worthy of love, or you're a good girl, or whatever it might be that's specific to you.
I love that. I love that. I love bringing that forward. So, this spiritual aspect of remembering our power as creators and multidimensional souls, share with us a little bit. What does that mean to be multidimensional and being creators of our world?
Yeah, so this is kind of more on the lines of creating our reality, where where I'm helping my clients realize that they are actually the creators of their reality. And we're doing that through our consciousness, through our thoughts and our beliefs, which is where my work kind of, we have to do one to be able to affect the other, because people talk about manifesting and creating a reality when you do certain rituals or affirmations, but we're creating our reality all the time from our subconscious mind. And as you said, we're mostly in our subconscious, and it's not always, we could be saying we want to earn more money, or we want to have a great career, but actually what our subconscious beliefs are saying is, oh no, you're not good enough to do that, or people like us will never earn more money. So there's a mismatch. And so what I'm trying to do is, one, help people remember that they are the creator of their reality, and they can affect their external reality by looking within and working with their subconscious beliefs, so that they can be a match, and then so they can say that they want more money, but also believe that they are worthy of that, and then make that happen.
Be more in alignment
Hmm.
with who we truly are. Because
Yeah.
what most people don't realize is our subconscious holds all that information, those beliefs, and you may not even realize that you have a belief so buried deep in you that you're saying that is opposite of what you in your conscious mind is saying. And so there's this battle going on of, yes you can, no you can't, yes you can, no you can't, yes you can. And so then we're constantly battling our inner selves. And when we can get into that alignment, that's when we can be really masters at manifesting what we want, because now we're in perfect alignment with what that is, right?
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then you can get in, because we create. And have you ever had a client where you say you create your own reality, and they look at you and say, there's no way I would have created this? Because I get that all the time. They look at me and go, there's no way I would create this. But from the outsider looking in, I can see how they're creating that reality. They can't see it because they're
Mhm.
blind to it. But me watching what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're thinking, I see how they're creating that. Have you had that experience with your clients?
Oh, 100%. I mean, all the clients that I work with are very open. So they know, they're coming to me knowing intellectually that they are creating their reality, but they just can't see how, how they are possibly doing that. But yes, exactly. I can sit there and I can see it so clearly. And it's really difficult, isn't it? Because we can't see our own blind spots. I know somebody could look at me and say, this is why this is happening, but I can't see it myself, even though I do this work all the time and help hundreds of women. I can't do it for myself, or it's very difficult. So we can't see our own blind spots. But that's why I think sometimes it's actually really helpful to work with someone who is external to you to help reflect that back to you. Because yeah, it's very difficult to see when you're in it because it feels very, very real. And the thing with beliefs is that a belief is just a thought that you think over and over again until it becomes true. But a belief is the truth to us. So it's very hard to see outside of the truth because we've thought it for so long. But it's about kind of trying to get in there and show them the cracks really in it so that they can start seeing, oh, maybe it's not the truth. And as soon as they can admit that that might not be the truth, that's when you can kind of get in and you can start breaking through those subconscious beliefs.
It's hard for us to see it for ourselves. More than a blind spot, we can't always acknowledge it. Also, your best friends that you're chatting with can have a hard time sharing truth with you because it's just going to hurt your feelings and they don't want to do that. And there's this whole relationship. So having a mentor, a coach, someone that is not close to you, is not your best friend, that can really come in and shed some light for you can be really powerful. So we get stuck in these cycles that we create, and it can be very difficult to get out. And so the universe will send us people that are mirrors to kind of get our attention. And sometimes that doesn't even work. People that come in and say, so finding that right fit so that you're ready to do that can be really, really important. And so your subconscious, here's the other thing that most people don't understand. You can easily reprogram, reconnect your subconscious to different things. Your subconscious doesn't know what is reality and what is your daydream.
Yep.
Doesn't know the difference. So you can daydream these beautiful daydreams and put those into your subconscious. You can rewrite memories within your subconscious with these daydreams. Your mind is so powerful, and we use such a small percentage of our mind. So I always tell people, if you're a daydreamer, which as kids we were told, stop daydreaming. Daydreaming is so important because daydreaming can create your reality. Daydreaming connects you to your intuitive gifts. It helps you connect to your navigation system. Daydreaming is such an easy tool to kind of play with just on your own, to daydream about things that you want or that you'd like to manifest and start playing with it and see what happens. Because I've done a lot of work with just daydreaming and creating things that people couldn't believe that I could create. That can play into your subconscious as well. So, understanding how the conscious mind, the subconscious, and the superconscious minds work in that scientific aspect, then you become a master of what you want to bring forward when you can really understand how each of them work. I had a writer that wrote a book once that said, your subconscious mind is taking the directive of your conscious mind. So think about a captain of a boat that yells down to the crew below, we need more coal, we need to go northeast or northwest. They don't question what the captain's saying, they just do it. They don't use judgment, they don't filter it, they can't see anything down there. They're following a directive. So your subconscious is also following a directive. It doesn't say, oh, you shouldn't believe that. No, you shouldn't have that. It takes it directly as exact as you give it. And so think about that 3-year-old or the 5-year-old or the 7-year-old, whatever thought they had, it takes that as divine truth, and it more than likely is not the divine truth. It is a perspective from a very small child or a teenager or any of those aspects that we live through. So I love that you're doing this work to help people.
Yeah, I know, I totally agree with you. And the problem is as well is that things spiral as well. So it starts off as a very, one small incident that's happened as a child, and then it just snowballs over time because we're powerful, and then what we think is going to happen and what we believe happens becomes true, and then it solidifies that belief, and then you think, well, then it's definitely the truth, and we continue to create that based on that, like you said, 3-year-old, 7-year-old truth, and it was never really the truth to begin with.
It is. It's very interesting. So share with our listeners some of the things that you offer, some of the things you do. We will have your website along the bottom of the video. We will also have it in the descriptions of how people can contact you. But share with us today some of the things that you offer as a coach in your work so that people that are listening that might go, hey, I really need that, can contact you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. So obviously, as you mentioned before, we have the podcast, which is just great to dive into because we talk about everything. I bring in, the hypnotherapy stuff, the past life stuff, the spiritual stuff. It's everything, psychology, mindset, spirituality. So that's great. A great resource there. And then to work with me, so I work one-to-one with clients. I have 2 programs. I have a 3.5-month program and a 6.5-month program. And that is, the 3.5-month program is where we do all the reprogramming. We go back, we do the inner child work, and we kind of start creating, a path moving forward for you with these new beliefs. The 6-month program is all of that, plus then we go into the actual manifesting and creating of your life going further, so to take you even further. And then I'm also a QHHT practitioner, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique, which was created by Dolores Cannon. And so then I offer that past life regression session as well. It's more than a past life regression. We also channel through your higher self. So I also do that as well.
So do you do a lot of these things online, Natasha? If somebody was somewhere else, they can do this work with you online?
Absolutely. Hypnosis can work wherever you are. It doesn't matter whether you're here or in Australia. It's fine. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for taking the time today to meet with us from such a far away place, because I'm in Denver, Colorado, and you said you're where?
In Southampton, in England.
In England.
Yeah.
So it sounds so beautiful. I think I would rather be there sometimes than here.
Oh,
It
we
would be
don't know about
beautiful.
that.
Thank you for taking the time. I know it's getting into the nighttime where you are. Thank you for taking the time to be on our show today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I love it. And if you've been listening, please like, comment, share all those things on our podcast because it helps grow our podcast. Share it with a friend. We would love for more people to come and listen. I hope that you have a sacred and magical day and week. And I hope that we'll see you soon on another episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Vialet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Vialet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.